We've already seen one of the teams, Twisted Minds. They played in the quarterfinals in the upper bracket earlier. But Vendetta, their opponent for this one, that we've not talked about yet. So let's dive straight in, starting with Vendetta. What do we know about these teams? Let's go through their roster a little bit and break it down, because there is a bunch of familiar names here for sure.
Yeah, some familiar names if you've been paying attention to the earlier stages this year, of course. A bit of a good old EMEA mix. So, you know, if we take a look at the roster, you'll see, for example, players like China, who played on the Impero in the early stages this year as well. Cookie was a part of Ex Oblivioni as well. Hybrids coming in on the tank on this one. And this has been a group of players who, you know, they play pretty meta, and they got a pretty good hero pool for this specific meta, right? Like China, for example, was a player that at the start of the year, we talked a lot about China's Tracer being really good for the Impero, but also the Pharah, which it comes in handy in a composition like this, right? Cookie, you know, can play the long-range hit scan, and the Widowmaker was quite effective here on King's Row, actually, in this match against Quick Esports, which I meant to point out. So this is a squad that can play the meta pretty well. They got a high-powering damage duo in this scenario that could shift the tide of this matchup in particular. They like putting quite a bit of resources into their Orisa play as well, with Anj helping out the Brig with the Orisa in the front line. So, you know, might be an underdog in this series, but not to be counted out.
Yeah, I mean, you're highlighting the damage duo here, but obviously Twisted Minds, when we're speaking about this team, it's Quartz and Lubda all the way. Those have been explosive today.
Yeah, I think Quartz is definitely the player to watch in this series. You know, Cookie and China have looked solid, but they are going up against Quartz, who I think it's fair to say is one of the best hit scans in the region. And it's a comp or a meta where he's able to probably play a lot of those long-range hit scans, get safe, stable positions, and then just poke people down. So I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on Vendetta to force engagements. That's the power of this Pharah and Widow style, is that, or any long-range hit scan for that matter, with Pharah or Echo, is, you know, you're just doing so much poking pressure at all times. The enemy team really has to do something, have to respond. SSG played fantastically to kind of bunker in the corners, but generally speaking, that's not so viable into these long-range damage dealers. So a lot of pressure on Vendetta to get out on the map and fight and stop Twisted Minds, but that's so much easier said than done. I think TVNT and the supports have been having great games, so they're not going to be any pushovers in the front line.
Yeah, I think in this one, there is just a clear favorite, and that's Twisted Minds. I'm going to give them a 3-0 victory here, although I do think that the individuals here from Vendetta, there's good pieces to work with. I just don't think they will match up favorably against Twisted Minds.
Yeah, I went the same way. It's across the board, 3-0s. Twisted Minds just looks like a really solid team, even, you know, putting a lot of pressure on SSG in their series. I'd be surprised if Vendetta can hold up. I do think there's a chance for them to get a map off of just individual excellence, maybe from the DPS and the tank line. But in general, I think TVNT has just looked too solid on tank to let too much by them from the DPS line.
Yeah, the question for me in this series is really, can you like shut down Lambda in the way that SSG did? For example, KSA had a great Diva play earlier on today. Can you mimic that performance? It's going to be very hard. It's an uphill battle for sure. So you kind of need your damage players to just pop off in this one.
Let's see what our community thinks about this one. All right, actually 20%. That's more than I would have. It's more than I would have thought, but you know what? Let's bring all the support you have for Vendetta, because this is do or die for both of these teams. One of them will stay alive in the lower bracket and gets another opportunity to fight their way all the way through to potentially manage to get to Sweden. Now let's see which of the two teams is coming out on top. And for all the action, we once more send it over to Mitch and Matt.
It's been a hot minute actually since Twisted Minds have featured heavily in like a main event, right? I feel like they took Stage 3 off. Didn't see anything from them there.
I'm still reeling after whatever the hell we just watched with One Man Army and SRP check. I mean, that was
insane. I mean, we're not going back there. We're definitely clear of that. We've
no.
You know, until the next time we see SR peak check play. But they're in the upper bracket, rather they're advancing in the lower bracket now. So I'm curious to see, who falls down to sort of take them on, because someone is going to have to come up with an answer to that. But speaking of teams that really like to play one specific style, I think it's safe to say that is something that Twisted Minds have showed us today. Any map, doesn't matter if it's good for Pharah, they're trying to play Lambda on that Pharah when and if possible.
Yeah, I think you get lots of value out of the Pharah, also putting Quartz on, whether it be like a Cassidy or an Ashe, right? That's what we saw from them a little bit earlier against SSG, which was a really close series, I know, from start to finish, right? It was not just a complete blowout. So you would think, given that Twisted Minds would be the favorite here going into this one against Vendetta. You heard the desk, everybody kind of likes Twisted Minds in this one. I think you would have to be just kind of making a pick just to make a pick to go with Vendetta, but we'll see what happens.
I've enjoyed what I've seen from Vendetta, especially through group stages. They've been competitive in a lot of their groups. They made it out this time in Stage 3. They think they just missed out because Hypnos managed to beat them. But W-Ange, always, you know, an exciting prospect, and China is a really nasty DPS player. So this team definitely has what it takes. But they might be still back in that sort of Ramatra era. We'll see what they come out with. But Twisted Minds, no reason here to see them go away from that sort of Pharah and the Ashe setup here on a map like this. MCD on the Juno. All seems right with Twisted Minds.
Well, I mean, there would be a reason, right? Like, this map is obviously very close quarter, where everybody can put damage down onto the far. Like, not you know, in a long range type of map, like a Night Garden or whatnot. That could be very difficult for, like, let's say a Genji to put some damage down on the far. So, could have seen them swap here, but you know, nice Dynamite there from Core. It's going to put down some damage.
I agree. Also, I agree with Hugo. Vendetta here taking a bunch of early pokes.
I don't know what he's
who knows? Yeah, it's probably pretty important, though, honestly. The Pharah poke, plus this, this damage coming in from Quartz at long range. A little bit scary for Vendetta. They are kind of struggling to just find an initial foothold here. Hybrid, almost no armor left here. That's been knocked off them now. Cycling through those cooldowns just to stay durable enough, but definitely feels like the poke duel being lost by Vendetta, which is a hallmark of Twisted Minds games. They're very good in that phase of the game.
Yes, this will be TM getting in control of the point. I also think where the positioning is here, Mitch, this is great for Twisted Minds, right? That Pharah can stay at a long distance, poke constantly. This will be an orbital ray trying to open things up here for Vendetta. And yeah, they're not able to keep TBNT alive. That's the biggest thing. But I did like the position there for Twisted Minds. I think you get the Pharah into that position that can kind of like hover over the point at a distance. And then also Quartz to be able to shoot at a distance over the point. I think that's a really good spot for them. It's just the orbital ray too strong there.
Twisted Minds like to set the pace. They prefer it slower. They prefer it when they're in control of the map. Ideally, they have a capture point, for example, and they poke down the attackers constantly. When it gets taken away from them, or like when there's like an orbital ray that lets you go up a gear as a team attacking into them, that's an opportunity to really start to punish Twisted Minds and sort of beat them when they're a little bit weaker. Here they're going to come, though, and they do have a orbital ray of their own. Cronus has done well to build up half of the next one, so they'll feature soon. But here they come, orbital ray, Deadeye, Lapta just able to stay out of Cookie's line of sight. They themselves can't really afford to stand out there in the open, especially not with the Bob turning up in their previous location. And that'll be it. One kill's enough for Twisted Minds to take the point. They're happy with that.
Yeah, they do end up giving up like 20+%, right? Where it was a nice kill early from Cookie on the Quartz, which actually allowed them to gain that extra percentage on the point, right? Twisted Minds needs a hit scan to push on in as TBNT pushes a little bit further up here. Gonna go with the Terror Surge, maybe trying to get a barrage from another angle, but the barrage never comes through.
All right, here's that ray. Cronus building up very quickly. Twisted Minds can disengage from it and still get a decent fight without that being a factor. So they're more than happy to keep them at arm's length for the time being. Hypering here, Vendetta do want to close. China a little bit low and has a blade available now. Bliss trying to also keep them at bay. It's Lapta for Hybrid traded out. Twisted Minds will take that any day of the week.
Yeah, but for Vendetta, they end up layering the support ults on top of each other there. They end up using the orbital ray and the rally at the same exact time, which you've been following Overwatch Esports for a while. Double support ult at the same time, not the way to go. Is you don't want to layer those. Yeah.
Here though, Twisted Minds definitely don't have any issues when it comes to those support ults when it's being generated. China still hasn't had an opportunity to go in with the blade. You have to think it's going to be this fight or never at this rate. And in we go. Hybrid able to find MCD, and that blade ends up being superfluous. Everything from Vendetta getting leveraged in that fight. And obviously that Terror Surge a big part of it. We'll get a clean fight win here and have a chance to try and sneak the map away from TM.
Yeah, losing effort there for Twisted Minds, especially when they have, you know, so many ultimates on the other side. Even with the rally, there was no way you're going to be able to live through that. But, you know, we come back, Bomb, Terror Surge, Orbital Ray available for Twisted Minds. It looks like Quartz trying to find an off angle to drop this Bob off.
All right, here comes that Ray once more from MCD. They lost Cronus so early. That's that poke damage advantage of Twisted Minds.
That was during the Ray.
Yes, brutal. Absolutely brutal. China here, okay. Nice Techers comes out with a win over Quartz. Twisted Minds still definitely. Oh my goodness, Lapta, don't.
Oh, that would have been
throwback to Tavik deflecting a rocket in like season 1 of the Overwatch League. That would have been something special.
Almost hero play there from China. It'll be Hybrid on the Diva trying to get a touch Its spirit spin away, not able to do so. So it'll be a Twisted Minds round win here in round 1. Very back and forth round though.
Definitely feel like you want to neutralize this Pharah's impact in the fight as much as you can as Vendetta. On a map like this, it probably gets a little harder because Labda can circle that central building and send rockets in through the windows. And
well, yeah, this point's definitely better for the Pharah, right? I mean, that
Absolutely.
first point that we were just on Lijiang, probably the absolute worst there for the
virtue
Pharah.
of not really having a roof, I think. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be up to Cookie here to try and, win fights out in the open. And maybe Twisted Minds look to avoid taking engagements in that central part of the map. Instead, play off the point, and again, get that poke damage to start to accrue to turn it into easy pickups. Quartz on the Widowmaker. This is another thing only TM will go for. And China, they're realizing they don't have the velocity to avoid his purview.
Hey, man, Quartz opens things up. 2 quick kills there from the Widow. He's probably had an idea that they were going to try and match that Pharah. Zool, now we'll get a Widow battle here, which like you rarely see on this point of really like a lot of Lijiang Tower, not a ton of Widowmaker, but especially here on this point.
All right, nice headshot. Hybrid has that armor stripped away quickly. Quartz, though, definitely very wary of someone encroaching. China maybe trying to wrap around, but W1 gets headshot. Cookie now under some serious pressure, but there's a lot of players there from Vendetta able to help out with the Widow flank. Audacious from Quartz.
I mean, he had an idea that that fight was won, right? You don't put into that position. If you're unsure, yeah, you get the kill on Ange right off the rip. And because they're going to be about 40% and counting here for TM. The next fight kicks off as Quartz single-handedly, right, giving them huge advantages.
And that lab to poke is just relentless. Vendetta try and cross the map by wrapping around and looking for the back line, but Bliss and MCD make themselves pretty scarce. Folding back over towards the point now to play towards the edges of it. China in a position to poke down. They're just trying to avoid Quartz at all costs here. Quartz will find the smallest of angles now. The infra side is up. Cookie has to dash across the gap here. Now some Widowmaker headshot action. Cookie realizes their disadvantage trying to take that fight without an ultimate up, so they just stay safe and scarce. Well, sort of.
Labda, though, able to get 2 on the opposite side. Both players forced with Infrasight over towards the Pharah. Don't want to actually deal with Quartz in the middle of the map. And this has been an absolute blowout in favor of Twisted Minds. And when we're on with Quartz, I mean, you can tell, like I'm sure he knows that I know Cookie, very good player, but you can tell when a Widow is taking fights with almost no respect, like there's no way you're killing me, and the way that, Quartz is flying around these corners, that's what it's telling me right
absolutely.
now.
Cookie doesn't really want to take any straight fights here, but it's presumably supposed to be countering Quartz on this Widowmaker. That's why you would switch, otherwise play a Tracer or something else. Have to beat Quartz at his own game. That is something that very few teams in this region can boast. Twisted Minds do have the point flipped on them. They'll just move back, flip it back in favor, and they'll basically be done from here. TVNT doing a great job, able to follow up on all of that poke damage Twisted Minds are putting down at the start of these rounds. China will get at least a touch and set up an overtime. Feels like Hybrid is a long way away from being able to be a factor here and won't be allowed to intervene. It's a Twisted Minds comfortable map take here as Lijiang Tower passes by in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, I mean, round 2 is just Quartz being dominant Widowmaker presence, right? First 2 fights, he gets some early pickoffs, and then they're just kind of stuck just in the middle of nowhere there, Vendetta, for a very long time, not even able to really kind of get out through their choke. So, really good start for Twisted Minds. We thought they would bounce back strong after the SSG match. That was pretty competitive, and here getting off to a great start.
It generally was quite competitive, I think, for what it ended up being like a 3-1 or something similar. So Twisted Minds definitely have quite a few maps that they can go to that they look pretty scary on. Kings Row sort of being one of those. It's also pretty helpful that such a popular and common map is so squarely in your wheelhouse, and Vendetta might have to look to work around that. They've got options, right? I don't think Cookie is that guy to stand up to Quartz in a Widow duel. China, a very good sort of projectile flanking DPS player. You've got plenty of strength to leverage on this team, but so far Twisted Minds in the pound-to-pound matchup just seem to have the edge.
Yeah, almost a sick play there from China, but this is the first fight, right? Getting a kill there onto the Pharah and one onto the Juno, some of the best targets you could possibly get. Then the next fight, taking out Anj. This gives them about 50% on the point, right? Just these two fights. So a fantastic start in round number 2. Round number 1, back and forth. Round number 2, just absolute blowout. I mean, Quartz and Lab, they definitely turned the...
It's a Widowmaker kill. I think onto like a Juno or something similar, and then Pharah just gets shot as China realizes they can't really get out of trouble remotely quickly enough. Even with that extra mobility that Pharah has, he was just sort of hanging out over the top of the battlefield. Definitely a more one-sided scorecard for you here. Twisted Minds didn't really have to do too much healing at all and end the game with only 13 deaths to their name. It's dominant. There's probably no other way of really putting it here, and it's going to be up to Vendetta to try and craft a map to their advantage.
I'd love to know how many of those 13 deaths were in round number 2. I bet you it was like
very few.
Most of them around number 1.
Yeah, there were like a couple of scattered. I think I saw Quartz die once because the fight was already won.
Yeah,
and
maybe
like
1 or 2.
Yes, it was very one-sided. So why don't you just play? Okay, so you can play like a. So you know that Twisted Mind's probably going to try and play Widow when they can. So you probably should choose like a Flashpoint or Clash map maybe to like make it kind of awkward for them. Like, can you really play Pharah Widow on those maps? Like, I don't. What, you can do it on?
You can play Pharah.
You can play on Throne of Anubis.
You can play Pharah Cassidy. You can play probably Pharah Ashe. That seems like to be what Twisted Minds wants to do regardless.
I guess. Okay. I'm curious if we go there because I'm looking at all these other map pools, right? Don't take them to Kings. Don't take Twisted Minds to Gibraltar, even though they lost that, by the way. But that was a different story. I thought the main comp. I mean, they got played around so well by
Jungle Town would be a bad call.
Yeah, don't go there. Rialto obviously allows for a ton of Widow play, so yeah. Okay. It is. Again, this is we see these clash maps mixed in sometimes by some of these underdog teams are trying to get a good clash map into their repertoire as opposed to just taking us to Kings Row for our second map of every series and invariably losing that one. So I'm quite happy to see that from Vendetta.
You don't like teams just being like, we play a lot of Kings Row and just automatically selecting it.
It was definitely
not really everybody else.
Actually, you I think that
everybody else plays
it. You
that
took the most issue with it because we were discussing like, oh, well, look, as a new team, like they probably worked the most on this map, and you felt that maybe it's better to go to a map to try and catch someone off guard. I think for the viewing experience, it's definitely more exciting.
The desk, those guys can tell you about this. The top teams aren't practicing Clash at the moment, right? They're like, because they're like, oh, we're never gonna pick something like that, right? Like, and they're only scrimming each other. So if you're somebody not in that upper tier who's not getting these scrims,
this is fine.
Start working
until
on some Clash.
One top team starts picking Temple of Anubis and completely shatters this gentle person's agreement, and then everyone has to play it. So far, that's not happened. I don't think we've ever seen higher seeded teams pick this map. Often also because the higher seeded teams don't really lose nearly as many maps and so don't have the opportunity to make those selections. But we're digressing a little bit. It will be Throne of Anubis, one of the newest maps in Overwatch, a Clash game type here, picked up by Vendetta. And it feels like this is the kind of map where, it feels like it evens the playing field a little bit more for a team that might just be, again, in like a head-to-head comparison, player to player, a little weaker.
Yeah, I also think it creates an opportunity for some like comebacks in the scenario that like Twisted Minds, right? We haven't really seen, at least in the games that we've done, a clash end before the 5-point marker, like with a team just taking the other team's home base, like I know E and A. So in theory, it does give you an opportunity, right? Even if you lose the first 2 points, an opportunity to get that one in your home base. You have an ultimate advantage. You come right back. Like, it gives you an opportunity in certain scenarios to make it maybe like would you say artificially closer, right? Like it is closer, but
it's kind of a reverse sweep simulator sometimes.
Yeah.
Anch here doesn't fare well off the rip, but Quartz is traded for the Lucio. Probably take those. Now Lucio Juno set up here for Vendetta, which is fun. Cookie here with all of that space. And Hybrid here as well has looked pretty hard to shift so far. Good start for Vendetta as they make a trade that favors them in 1-to-1. but still plenty of Twisted Minds players here playing from a bit of a distance. Look at the top left of your screen. That's Quartz peering in through that vent. And Laptor's able to get topped back up. This Pharah can be an issue in these longer fights.
I thought that was going to track China through the wall there for a second as the Genji really low for Vendetta. It's going to be an orbital ray. Pushes
Very
back
fast.
Vendetta. That's going to give point control now to Twisted Minds. And we'll see now Cronus an opportunity to come back in with an orbital ray of their own as now we see Vendetta just move their way on the point.
Yeah, I think I've seen this one before. Again, Vendetta, yeah, very fast build up of that ultimate here for MCD. But Quartz will fall again. First pick off that maybe lack of, I don't know, mobility for the Ashe, or at least the defensive infrastructure for her. Because Quartz has been public enemy #1 on quite a few of these rounds here. And Vendetta a favourite now going to the later part of the fight. Koki knocked back there by a javelin, but there's a sound barrier. I said that hot minute for Anj. He doesn't need to make use of it either. Bob comes on in to the back of the point, so a bit of an annoying location causes Anj to have to drop down. Terror Surge now in the absence of TVNT. Twisted Minds are barely hanging on here, and looks like they're about to lose this.
Yeah, sound barrier invested here towards the end from Anj. I think what was trying to go on there is Twisted Minds was actually trying to use their Bob at the beginning of that fight, and then Quartz falls at the hands of Cookie yet again early on. So you get that next kill on the Quartz. They're not able to kind of throw the Bob into contest anything. It kind of throws Twisted Minds' plan for loot there. So now it'll be Vendetta with 1 point on the board. See how this one fares, though. It's going to be 4 ultimates here for Twisted Minds. Great opportunity to flip it.
Okay, Terror Surge, of course, up for TVNT. Twisted Minds with a ton of ultimates here, and ultimate advantage tends to really dictate this map a lot on some of these points, as well as defender's advantage. Twisted Minds have just so much to work with. They just don't want to waste it all just capturing this point. They want to get a lead in terms of flashpoints, so this one should be a matter of course. It's their next one that's really important. China here with the blade, forced back from Bliss, cannot finish the kill, so both support ultimates are drawn out from Twisted Minds, but a very clean team fight win.
And we'll head back towards mid-map. There, Vendetta did a nice job just stalling the fight long enough to have Cronus build up towards an orbital array to match MCDs, but it's the rally advantage there from Twisted Minds. I mean, rally, barrage, Terror Surge, really just a good combination of everything there that is able to push them over the line. I feel like Quartz can get tons of damage there from that high ground. We see him sit up there constantly, just taking some extra damage from China and the rest of the team. Everybody looking at him as Cookie gets dangerously
low. That's like a 5-player sort of torpedo there from MCD, at least on Vendetta. So all the health bars get chunked down briefly. Here's Bob. God, that's an annoying spot. He actually goes to where Vendetta would fall back to. Sound barrier here for Vendetta allows Cookie to overcome Quartz at least. Anj here just trying to stay above the Orisa's threat radius right now. But Hybrid's still going to go down here. So even after committing the sound barrier, Vendetta solidly second best here.
Yeah, I mean, they use the sound barrier, but they're never able to deal with this far. So even though they get Quartz, it's just so much damage coming down on the rest of the team from this far that they're also never able to really deal with TVNT as well. So your focus is primarily on that Orisa at the time. It's allowing the Pharah to go uncontested in the sky, and that's a lot of unanswered damage.
This game sometimes feels like it comes down to who can win 3 flashpoints in a row, or if that's even possible. Twisted Minds here. Obviously using many of their ultimates in the previous fight, but they're going to build them up so fast. There's just so much fighting, and these fights go for so long. And getting the damage in order to accrue these abilities is pretty simple. Vendetta forced to disengage here. Hybrid does have Terror Surge.
They're trying to build up. They're trying to build up towards their orbital array and rally here. Is Twisted Minds, and they're going to be able to do so as it's going to be Deadeye here from Cookie. Maybe just trying to get the kill on the Orisa. Oh, doesn't want to poke around the corner.
A lot of damage, even just to look over the edge there, Matt. That's just how vigilant Twisted Minds are right now. MCD dishing it out. Arn's going to fall first to the torpedoes, and now Cronus after that as well. Of course, was an orbital array for MCD, but Twisted Minds, okay. If they want a real crack at finishing this map, which is very rare, I do think they want to hold on to that rally. So let's see what they can show us.
Yeah, we'll see if they're able to kind of crack into the spawn, right? As Cookie over to the Widowmaker. It's brutal, right? And then you try and go into the spawn, and you're wasting ultimates, and they end up winning it anyway, and it puts you in a really tough spot. After
You're at least
that,
gonna go for
specifically, is a Dynamite there? Yeah, it looks like they're going to go for
We
it.
just may not see Twisted Minds want to spend much. Oh, okay, wait a minute. Hybrid's gone down here. This is definitely on the table for them now. Coronas gets picked off. TVNT is going to be able to clean through what remains of Vendetta, and this would be a rarity. You spawn very close to this point, so Vendetta in theory have another opportunity here, but a full wipe and 1 tick already on that last flashpoint.
That's the bomb.
That gets you 1 tick, remember that. Here comes the Terror Surge now. Cronus already goes down to that very bob, and the Blade for China looks awkward. Where do you make use of this? Another tick picked up, and that will do it. You don't even need a full capture to end the map. Twisted Minds get it done right outside of Vendetta spawn.
And man, they just work right up into their spawn. They just beat the hell and back into their spawn. As that is a nice job from Quartz there, taking an off angle with the dynamite as soon as I think he gets one. You get the Bob in there as well, as there is nothing Vendetta can do. So that is one of the more dominant Clash performances we've seen, right? At least in the ones that you and I have casted, we haven't seen anybody be able to take a team's home base, and TM made it look
Well, they
easy.
didn't have to, right? Because now that like home base capture point is split into 3, and they all count for 1 whole point. So sometimes even just the 1 tick is more than enough. If you can get that far forward, it's like a lead that you sort of can't come back from. Look, we have like a Lucio Juno comp here. I think it's fine. You can sort of see in some of the areas where you maybe wish you had a Brig. But against like a Farah and Ashe comp, I can see the sort of argument for not using her. Rally is just so powerful.
What do you think you need? Yeah, I mean, that's like, I don't think you necessarily need the speed. And I would say at this point in the game, having Rally instead of Sound Barrier is just
I think
better, right?
The Rally, even just the stun component of the Rally is a little bit too good to look past right now. Even if you're just like hitting...
Just how sturdy it makes Brig, right?
Yeah, and even if like you just hit one person, it also gives you like a ton to fall back behind. DPS can play from behind that sort of larger shield here. But I think at this point, Vendetta are in complete and utter disarray. Like Hybrid turns up out of nowhere. Normally that part of the map, it's like easy to catch attackers in the choke because it's so narrow. But yeah, this was an absolute clapping. Not a whole lot to say about it outside of Twisted Minds. Just playing their style, their comp that works really well. And it was a slower start, sure, but Vendetta didn't show us much there at all.
No, not really. It was their map selection, maybe just trying to change it up a little bit more. Doesn't exactly work. I mean, I'm trying to even think about like other reasons why you would want the Lucio instead of the Brig. And like, I mean, it's not like Flashpoint where the maps are really big, where like, okay, maybe you get some value out of double speed, but
maybe
like,
being able to come back out of spawn quickly to sort of take these fights. Maybe that central capture point on Throne of Anubis, being able to knock people down is really frustrating. It's marginal though.
the Lucio can engage with the Farah, maybe, like, you know, maybe you feel like it's harder to, you know, proc Inspire constantly, right, on some of these maps with the high ground and the spacing.
You just hit the Orisa while she's not looking at you, but like there's a ton of there's 2 off angles like constantly because the Farah and the Ashe are playing from like high and wide positions, so it is like pretty uncomfortable. But Lucio has the same issue, and Lucio's max health has also been, you know, reduced somewhat over the last couple of patches, so he is not able just to get away with, like, you know, putting heal mode on and just running around and doing a bunch of nonsense here. So maybe the displacement, maybe he's hoping to like unseat someone like Quartz in those high ground positions and sort of force him into the fight where he doesn't want to be. There's a lot of reasons. I don't think it's great. Don't think it's just good in general at the moment, but here we are. We have Hybrid, Push, and Escort left in the map pool for Vendetta to select from.
Oh, no, I mean, not many great.
Play Push.
Yeah, I mean, I would say Gibraltar and Junkertown probably their worst options.
I mean, don't go to Kings because we saw what happened to SSG there. Don't go to Gibraltar because they have a Widow player.
Midtown, okay. I was gonna say, don't go like to like Runasapi or something, right? Because you're just gonna end up playing the same type of thing, right?
Yeah, we'll probably need to see Cookie's Ashe
that we
here,
just saw.
because there's almost certainly going to be Lab to Farah play. And Quartz can opt for some of the longer range hit scans. We've seen a little bit of Widow in the second phase of the map. And also, some teams switch Widow into each other on the last point because we do have like a bit of a zigzag, I guess, of the way the streets work. But if you look down the diagonal, you actually have relatively long sight lines for Widowmaker. We've seen, I mean, I've seen Seeker do it so many times to try and play the Widow here. So yeah, no shock to see Twisted Minds opt for that. I'm a little maybe surprised to see it on first point, but it all comes down to how well TVNT can keep that battle line nice and far forward.
I mean, with the way Quartz plays, I'm not even that surprised that you come out and run it here. You feel like you have a distinct advantage. Also, like, you know, you get a few early pickoffs like they did on Lijiang. Maybe it forces Vendetta to switch, and you feel like if they switched, it's just GG, right? You just have it so easily in the bag. So we'll see in Vendetta on offense. It'll be Ashe, Genji from their damage dealers. See if Quartz can find anything on the Widow early.
Yeah, look, I mean, could look into the choke here, and there's no, like, shield necessary to mitigate a lot of this damage, especially onto teammates of hybrids. And Quartz has got a pretty safe spot to play from. Obviously, this is like what the Sojourns used to do on this map a lot. Except they had disrupt the shot, which made getting through the choke even more annoying. But Labda can't be seen here and can still just rain down his poke damage. This almost, yeah, necessitates a Widow from Cookie. Oh, I don't like it.
But I think this is good. But I think this is good though for Twisted Minds, right? Now both teams trade out their Junos. I would say this is a win for Twisted Minds, and that's what I was talking about before the start of the round. Like, if you can get them to switch onto the Widow at the start, I mean, the sightlines are way better for the defending Widow, and then you also have a Pharah over the choke to put so much damage down on Hybrid as he's trying to move forward. I think this is a just necessity, like, of the switch is like a win for Twisted Minds.
Hybrid struggling with this poke damage raining down. The healing's decent though. Keeps them definitely in the driver's seat still.
He's got no cooldowns though. Now he's got back up.
And this allows Quartz back onto this line. Cookie's still playing Widow though, so you have to respect it. Whoa, that's nice. Beautiful from Cookie. Okay. Love to see that. Labs are also caught out by China. All right, I don't think TVNT's really got anywhere to go here. Now it's really only MCD left, if I'm not mistaken. Hybrid will take care of the Juno. Clean up here now as Vendetta finally break through. A little Widow pick there gets Vendetta what they need.
Yeah, nice shot there from Cookie, just jumping around the corner, taking out Quartz. Then rest of the crew coming on in to help out, take out the rest of Twisted Minds. As we'll see if Twisted Minds tries to go in and get a touch. This is going to be the second tick up for Grams. TVNT not able to make it. Looks like he just gets like knocked off of the point by a spear spin there. So not able to make his way to the point. That'll be Vendetta early on getting the first point here. But I mean, look at the weird positioning now. They've kind of pushed them all the way out. Labda will take out Cookie with some nice aerial shots.
Okay. They can definitely play a bit further forward here. Labda kind of priced into that anyway. Okay, so the Widow Infrasight, a little bit scary. Hybrid already, able to push up and deal with Quartz here. Labda knows his time is short now that his position is perpetually revealed. Twisted Minds commit an orbital raid to this fight. MCD, are you okay? They really...
Yeah.
Okay.
In-spawn orbital array. Doesn't exactly work out. The card will start to get moving now. But that opens up a big window for Vendetta, right? Double support ultimate here, and Blade moving on thin through the second part of the map. Your Widow, Cookie starting to put things together, right? Yeah.
Well, we need to stop doing that. At some point, we just need to stop doing that.
So, you know, I don't know if we can take a responsibility.
I think we might need to get.
I would take responsibility.
We might need to get liability insurance for like the prize money lost from caster curses, because it's going to be a problem.
I'd like to apologize to Vendetta.
Cronus picked off there. Now Quartz starts to have the run of things. Also gets to play from very safe spots. Really only Cookie that can threaten the Widow from there. And they, of course, are going to stick to that pick as well. 2:51 on the clock. Labda pinned up to the wall there. China on full deflect duty because he knows just how good Labda is hitting those directs. And there's Quartz again. Cookie wasn't able to find the angle. This is going to strip some more time off the clock, and Anj wants to commit a rally to this fight. Okay, well, here's a Terror Surge now for TVNT. Draws everyone close together. I guess there's not enough patience for Vendetta to reset. They really want to go for it here. TVNT's low.
I mean, Vendetta probably feels like you just can't constantly keep giving up this space. You have to figure out a way to get in there. Eventually, it'll be China now trying to make a play here for the Pharah, but that is the rally from Bliss, the stun, and then some rockets from Labda finishes him off.
Yeah, I'm more than happy just to tank that Javelin. Knows there's no pressure whatsoever. The TVNT is doing just what they need to. Great creation of space here. Quartz is on a Cookie again.
since we said Cookie's playing well on the Widow, he's like 0 for 3 in terms of the
really
Widow.
struggling. But I think it's hard to keep that consistent performance over the course of the round. Also, good Widows start to get a feel for how the other likes to play the game, or at least they'll tell you that.
Yeah, and then also you're now the Widow that's like forced basically back in your spawn. You're trying to jump around corners and whatnot. The other team's playing so aggressive in your face. Yeah, I mean, it's not the best position to play the Widow.
It's Widow or something else that can actively threaten Quartz. Like Cookie's role does need to be to neutralize Quartz right now. That will be hard to do with Infrasight in play. All right, Quartz knows where Cookie is. There's no way they're going to take a fight against him. Quartz, obviously at risk of like overextending a little bit into this, looking for one of these players that are hiding. Very conveniently located mini health pack, I must say. That's going to be China falling now. Lab to trade it out, so it's just a Widow for DPS presence for Twisted Minds, but the spawn camp's gone pretty well so far. They've taken so much of the map back. And Cookie helps with bringing down the horse.
Yeah, I mean, the spawn camp goes as good as it could possibly go at that moment. Now you're forced to back on up here after the Infrasight used by Vendetta and get some of the kills off the back of that, but the cart has not even made it close underneath the bridge yet, so still a really fantastic hold so far by Twisted Minds.
Back behind the bus is Quartz, so it's just changed the positioning a little bit. China with a blade. Love to find this backline now. Double support ultimates up for Vendetta. No reason why they shouldn't have some confidence to go forward here, start something up. Everyone trying to disengage away, but here comes China with the blade out, looking for Lab to first, and he connects now into the back line towards the brig. And we know that MCD has had an issue with China for quite a while, so this game is no different.
Looks like actually Quartz is caught out there, but look at where the cart is. I mean, there's no way. I mean, you're going to get another fight here if you're Twisted Minds. No reason to throw in some of those other ultimates in that previous fight, and now you come back in with an orbital array to kick things off. Labda takes out the Widow at a distance, and guess what? You have a rally to follow that up.
They're risky business for Labda, but there's enough teammates there to make that maybe worthwhile. Still 3 up in the rally here for Vendetta, though they can fight for this. Ange looking somewhat healthy as Hybrid, that's the issue. Getting him back into the fight is crucial. Cookie wants to return on the Tracer, but China gets picked off by Quartz here, and Hybrid is going to be surrounded. TVNT for the time being trying to ignore him now and put pressure down on Ange, who walks into a headshot. And Quartz basically has this one wrapped up now. Nothing Cookie can really do. Medella are held outside of that second checkpoint.
Yeah, and Cookie goes Tracer towards the end. One of the only other heroes you could say could give Quartz some trouble, right? If you wanted to play, didn't want to play a Widow and try and make a play for the Widow on the other side, but that time just to get there, get a touch. It's a really difficult spot to fight, especially when you have double support ult on the side of Twisted Minds. So Twisted Minds get off to a pretty good start on defense. We'll see if Vendetta can hold here. I think both teams probably run out with the Widow off the start, right? If you're Vendetta, you're almost, I guess, kind of forced to, expecting that Twisted Minds is going to run on offense.
Potentially. I think at this point, like you kind of know that the Widow sidelines here on attack are probably more limited. Like you need to make some grapple plays or like find a shot through the choke, for example. Cookie does not want to opt into it though, even though in theory, like at least to start with, you have more variety of sightlines. They probably feel if like TVNT is going to be as good at taking space as he has been, like their window for shooting people as they come through the choke might not be as wide as Cookie would otherwise need to do some real damage.
Yeah, as it looks like Vendetta will be running with the Ashe on defense, so we'll see now with Twisted Minds on offense. Yeah, I was like, we're not gonna see Illari here, as it'll be okay. So Bliss just coming out on the Zen, probably gonna throw some orbs. Yeah, now going back to the break.
So here you go, not a huge sideline, but outside of the Orisa cooldowns, you can really start to shred that armor off her with consecutive headshots. Not the hardest hitbox to hit. And as I said, you need to grapple here and there to find something. It's a matter of time, it feels, though, when Quartz is at the helm.
So you see this angle that Lab has taken, just trying to open things up for Quartz. Is Ange taking some big damage there from some rockets.
I mean, it's playing Brig into Pharah. It's just so terrible. Cookie gets taken down, so Quartz does eventually find the Ashe. Big problem here. Labda, though, dealt with. Cronus able to help China out with some of those torpedoes. hit with a poison mine here, so a little bit scary now to be playing so close to the Orisa in that event, but China shrugs it off, gets back to business.
Yes, now Cookie will play the Widow here for Vendetta, so Quartz, I imagine, expects to change. Now has actually spotted the Widow on the other side.
Ange annoyingly stepping in the way of Cookie with that shield. You've got to be looking to the skies here, but you can come from like a bunch of different grapple angles, like where you actually pop yourself up is entirely up to you. So it's uncomfortable for Cookie, who kind of has to like flick or correct his aim to where the Widow pops up. It's like playing whack-a-mole. The same can be said though for the Widow, like there's no guarantee that Quartz is going to have his crosshair on the anticipated location of Cookie. Here's an orbital right here for Vendetta, awfully quickly built, and Twisted Minds are actually halfway to flanking around, so they're really on awkward footing right now.
Yeah, as you end up losing TVNT, they get aggressive behind their orbital ray, and yeah, it forces a few of these players in a really weird spots, right? Because Bliss, Quartz, Lambda kind of work in that back alley, as you see Lambda trying to put pressure on the Widow, basically at the Vendetta spawn. They were working around that like off angle, and to lose TVNT, it puts them in a really difficult spot. Nobody can control the choke.
Let's try this again, this time with orbital ray. Emphasize for Quartz, Cookie behind in that metric. So it's going to have to change the way he plays for the next few seconds. Here we go. Rush into them is the plan for Twisted Minds. Vendetta forced into the train card entirely. Maybe hoping to expose Twisted Minds to like some off angle from the hit scam, but my god, Hybrid has gone around the world and somehow is still being kept alive. Good cooldown rotation. I think the barrage is probably a little bit too much. Cookie's able to intervene, but it's too late. The Orisa is already gone. China's Blade finds Quartz, not the priority target in that fight. The Widow's already made her mark.
I think I see the enemy.
Yeah, just an all-out brawl there as just the input site available here for Vendetta. Potential to get a touch, though. You're going to get everybody off of spawn. There'll be an infra site used here by Cookie. So he has to be so careful about this far damage, right? He knows exactly where this far is playing from. Going to be able to put down lots of damage on his team as they run out.
Cookie with the infra. Time to touch now for Vendetta, but Twisted Minds have already managed to deal with Ange. Cookie at least is able to even the ledger. Nicely done. Just a quick peek in there in a second onto Quartz at 3 versus 3 now. Notice that Twisted Minds have tried to just group up off the point with their Juno playing an off angle. TVNT wants to get in, needs the healing with found Cronus anyway. Now Laptor's a problem, getting it up in the sky, and China is so low. Just one tickle will be enough to deal with the Pharah, but China pulls up tantalizingly short. This will be the end of Hybrid, and it'll be the end of the defensive attempt for Vendetta.
Yeah, they actually rotate all the way around there because it's actually Cronus using the orbital ray there for Vendetta, so they didn't want to get caught by that. They rotate 3 players all the way around TVNT, Lambda, and MCD. They're able to kind of live on through that, and it's just like a 3-on-3 on the point at that moment. So Quartz now is going to ditch the Widow, going to go over to Tracer. Could have been back just to get a touch. We'll see how long he stays on here.
May not want to bother though, trying to do a Widow versus Widow duel from the attackers position here. Lambda down, Cookie though, still causing problems. Now Twisted Minds getting a taste of their own medicine, but this is what Quartz is designed to do on this Tracer. Chase Cookie down. So far unsuccessful, at least dragging the attention though away. Poison Mine.
This is one of the heroes that definitely puts pressure onto Widow, right? Is see Cookie just kind of looking in every direction this time though. Yeah, I mean that's a nice shot.
Yeah, not nearly enough pressure there, and always a health pack close by for Cookie just to go snap that up. TVNT commits a Terror Surge to this fight, even though they have no Pharah. Maybe they can get Hybrid here and turn this into something a little bit better, but that free Fortify is pretty good. Pulse for Quartz catches Hybrid, but not before the damage is done. Twisted Minds really have to find tooth and nail for this now, and a kill on Ange might have given them an opening. Now though, that looks much harder. Eventually they get Ange. The time's been bought.
Yeah, Lapta just putting tons of damage down on those players fighting in the subway, right? So they have to kind of back up just a little bit. And this is, even in a fight where they necessarily don't win, they're going to get some extra progress out of TVNT, though. I mean, you can't just be in that position, right? No support there to keep him alive.
Of course, they'll have to find that Widow, which is helpful. It means Lapta now can actually start to poke down from it, like before the fight begins. For the next, few seconds anyway. If you're really ballsy, you go for a barrage out of Widow's line of sight once she returns. But you have to play corners here. So Cookie is back. Both teams at full strength. TVNT already aware of the Widow's presence. via high velocity rounds being fired in his general direction. And here comes that orbital ray for Vendetta. They pop that MCD still a little bit away from his, but no one's using it at all. Vendetta playing well ahead of it to try and get behind this rush. And hey, it's fine. Can't use that support ultimate, don't worry about it. They had the blade and Hybrid got aggressive.
Yeah, rally used by both sides. It'll be MCD with an advantage here for Twisted Minds. They'll actually end up having an orbital ray here for potentially the final fight as Cookie puts a big shot into TVNT from the side there. So CLTM decides to attack this. This orbital ray, though, over by the cart could just be enough to seal the deal.
Quartz had to find a touch. Lapped it down. I mean, you are playing this far willingly into Widowmaker. I had no sympathy for this. Cookie's been a problem, and honestly, Quartz has never been able to apply pressure at the right timing. You just disengage his orbital ray. You're happy to see it go. Cookie now again with a lot of space to work with, albeit not the best sight lines here. Twisted Minds have the barrage once Labda returns to the fray, and he's on his way back. Cookie will be looking for that furrow yet again. Labda needs to be so careful. That could have been the end of him right there. Still able to find a pick now, move towards Ange. Dangerous here. Quartz died in the back line though, and Labda has to do it himself. Gets at least the brig. Needs to be more than that though. Take a little bit low now as the Terror Surge gets thrown down by TVNT. And Labda eventually goes down. Cookie's able to win out against the Farik here. No one can do anything about this Widowmaker. But Twisted Minds may have some reinforcements returning to the fray right about now, but Cookie is not going to slow down. He's not going to stop. TVNT absolutely rolled. No answer to the Widow threat in the backline. And an orbital ray will seal the deal for Vendetta. They go for the Hail Mary, a Midtown to stay alive in the series, and it pays off.
Yeah, once Quartz switched off of the Widow, we really didn't say his name much at all, right? I did not really do much of anything there on the Tracer. Probably should just stayed, match that Widow, because he was playing really good on that hero, especially against Cookie. Allows Cookie to stay on the Widow, just dominate the second half of the round there. As yeah, I mean, on the Tracer was not really giving him any trouble. Every time we were on with Cookie, just kind of free firing. I know, given so much time to be able to land those headshots on the Widowmaker. Felt like that one was a bit of a giveaway there by Twisted Minds.
That one slipped. That one's going to be frustrating for them. Still not a clean sheet. Let's head over the desk here. Plenty to talk about. Their last map, especially as finally Vendetta shows some signs of life and sentience.
They did indeed. In what a wonderful fashion they showed signs of life. Let's talk about this composition though, because heading into this, we did say there's a lot of, opportunities for the DPS players to pick up any which heroes. We haven't seen that much Tracer though. Is that just like a comfort pick for Quartz? We know how much work Quartz can do on the Widowmaker. Why the switch?
I think it makes sense in a way. Like the attack Widowmaker is kind of awkward there with the high ground being so contested. Enemies playing a Genji, so there, if you go try and sit on that high ground, you're gonna get initiated on by Genji and Orisa, and he feels like maybe Widow's too vulnerable to that. At the same time, if you go a more durable hit scan like an Ashe or a Cassidy, the enemy Widow's just too far away. You're gonna get out-dueled. So I think theoretically the Tracer makes sense, but the execution is just so difficult in this meta with Juno Brig. Typically, Tracer wants to have not only one target to pressure, where the Widow just knows what's coming, she kind of plays around it. You want to have a few potential kills to look for, but Brig and Juno are just such hard targets on the support line. I think that's part of why we don't see so much Tracer in the meta. Same time, Labda's Pharah in general has looked really good for them in this series. I think not too many teams have run the Pharah, but for Twisted Minds, clearly the comfort pays off. Midtown, second point, this is a pretty dismal place to be playing Pharah into a Widow. So I can understand it's struggling here, but in general, Twisted Minds have looked really good on this look.
Yeah, they looked really good. I mean, Quartz is an unbelievable Widowmaker game so far. So, it did kind of suck. You had to swap off that hero there. But, they didn't have anything to really help with the Tracer either. Either, do you want to go like a Diva or something like that? It can also put pressure on the Pharah and help with the dives onto the Widowmaker. Or, do you even, want to solidify the front line? If you don't want to put too much pressure on the back line and you can't really help Quartz, then, maybe pull out the Mei, for example. Something like that to help out with the front line. But they were kind of, caught in this, in-between look, and, Quartz couldn't really get anything going by himself. Labda had a difficult time against the Widowmaker himself. So it really gave a window for Vendetta here to pop off. Cookie had a great Widowmaker game himself, whereas I think so far in this series, it really was about Quartz. Throne of Anubis was a complete stomp. The support ultimate value was not there at all for Vendetta. They struggled to get value from Ange's sound barrier on point C, and then also the orbital rage just got nothing. So Throne of Anubis was a stomp, and I was like, okay, this is gonna be an easy 3-0. But credit to Vendetta. They hold down the 4-tier on Midtown much at large because of Cookie's Widowmaker.
Yeah, and those are the players that you highlighted heading into this series. You said this is going to be on the heroics, on the back of the heroics that we're going to see from that DPS lineup, Cookie and China. they're the one who have to step up and really bring their A game today. They managed to turn it up in map number 3. Where are we going from here, though? That's the big question. Where would you like to see them go?
I think it's really all about the Pharah here, about Labda's Pharah. I mean, that's the core difference between these two teams, the preference of Pharah versus Genji in general. They've been playing much the same style otherwise. And so I think now the focus is kind of the ball's in Labda's court. Like, where do you feel the strongest on Pharah? We got Push and Escort. You know, it's interesting. I feel like Escort could be kind of tough for Pharah. Maybe you take us to a Rialto, feeling like that's a pretty strong map for. I think Echo is another good option in Labda's toolkit. Pretty strong in Rialto. Pharah can work well with all the roofs to play around. Maybe you want to avoid something like Gibraltar and Junkertown, where I think those flyers are just quite a bit more.
All
popular.
trends towards Runasapi.
Yeah, maybe Runasapi is a good pick too. I just think all the pushes are actually kind of fine for Twisted Minds. But yeah, maybe they just want to close the series out. Ended in 4 maps. You know, that last map arguably was an aberration. And this is a great map for that slow poking style that Twisted Minds are really comfortable with. Force the other team to take actions. You know they're going to play Genji. You know they're going to try and run at you. But any mistakes in the execution and the Pharah is going to come out on top.
Right on, Runasapi, the map for Twisted Minds, the map they want to close it all out on. But from the opposition, Vendetta, obviously, like, it was about DPS stepping up. Who else are you having your eyes on? Who else needs to bring, I mean, obviously everyone needs to bring their in game, but any other switches or changes you want to see here from that team?
Well, I want to see Anj at least, you know, stay alive and actually like sustain enough to kind of give your armor packs to your damage dealers. Because if you're going to have so much emphasis on Cookie to stay alive, for example, and if you're going to play Pharah as well, China playing the Pharah, like the armor packs come in pretty clutch there as well. So, you know, as long as you can stay alive to like give time for your damage players to actually find those picks. Because if you lose a man early, if you're in a 4 versus 5 situation, if you get picked early, that forces your damage to like really make a proactive move to try and get a counter pick early. So it's all about staying alive in this one. Don't fall to Labda's poke, you know, the Pharah. You gotta stay aware of all the damage that could come your way. So just take it slow, don't play too desperate, and just play patiently, and maybe you can hope for your damage dealers to pop off.
I love the just at the beginning of this one. Just.
I think they actually have to play fast. That's the hard thing, though. It's like you're playing Genji into Pharah. You can't just chill. Like the Genji has to go, and so Brig needs to go too, and you gotta just actually get kills with it instead of not getting kills.
That's
Kill
right.
the enemy and don't die, I think, is the key centerpiece.
That's
of the
the PSA. Love that for them. Let's see if they can make it happen. However, you at home, you don't have to fight your way through a lower bracket like our teams do in order to end up in Stockholm, Sweden. No, you can just join us by buying tickets for DreamHack. We hope to see you there for our World Finals here of the OWCS. It's going to be a banger of an event. We have 3 teams already qualified and many more to come after this very weekend. But let's find out which of these 2 teams are staying alive in our lower bracket. Matt, Mitch, please take it away.
Kill the enemy and do not die. I don't need to read Sun Tzu anymore, actually. I think that's kind of encompassed it very effectively. Ultimately, Overwatch does boil down to that, especially when you have a map like Push, which
we kill them, and we don't lose as many players as them.
That's right, because people die if they're killed in Overwatch, and you don't want that. You want them to be able to be in the game and shoot. They also can't shoot when they are on respawn. That's also a problem. Big problem for your overall DPS to not have 5 players up. It's that time, I guess. Here we go. Twisted Minds and Vendetta, rather, out of the gates here. Cookie wants to start with Widow. Look at this wide off angle they've taken. They want to fire all the way up the street.
That is an interesting pick here on Runasapi. I don't know if we've seen Widow selected here on Runasapi. Kick things off.
I don't know about this one.
Yeah, I'm not too sure on this one.
Then, like,
it feels like once Twisted Minds knows this is going on, which by the shots and the bullet trails coming from behind, they have an idea. You just push the front line, right? I mean, that's all you do. Yeah.
Okay. Cookie's able to get quartz eventually.
Yeah, but everybody else is dead. At what cost?
Well, I mean, Cookie didn't really fire a bullet, I think, for the first part of that fight. Watching Anj just on the other side of the map getting absolutely mauled.
Now, the important thing here is for Twisted Minds and like Quartz, don't take the bait, right? Don't match the Widow, right?
It's switching anyway.
It'll be Cookie switching and playing the Cassidy. As you know, I don't know what just play the Ashe, right? I think that's you know, gives you a little bit more range, I guess, against the Pharah, but
yeah, Cookie maybe not comfortable there. That is a, well, that's Vendetta basically giving up that checkpoint. Just couldn't quite get there in time for whatever reason. I'm pretty sure what that's about. Should be at least another fight opportunity, but maybe that's because of how badly the first fight went for Vendetta. That Twisted Mind just had extra
really
distance.
low.
I'm hearing that a lot this game. I'm not gonna lie.
That's the orbital rate, and then they lose on right away, so you're not going to be able to keep that Brig alive. You do end up trading out here, so Quartz ends up falling. I was like, oh, do you just back up here, Twisted Minds? And maybe, you know, well, I thought maybe you would back up for a little bit, let MCD farm up this orbital array, then go just push back in where the bot was, but they'll fall back to mid-map.
You can play corner here. Something that maybe Cassidy does a bit more comfortably than Ash, I guess. But it's where Labda wants to be, which is the most important part. Bob here as well is going to cover this entire street, so will force a complete disengage now for Vendetta. Putting them back upon that checkpoint is basically where they're going to need to fight from here, if not further.
And this is huge for Twisted Minds because you end up winning that fight and pushing the bot further without using orbital array or rally, right? So you're inherently going to have a massive advantage moving forward. So this is, you know, as good as it can get. I mean, not now because you've ended up losing Quartz, but they're still going to use it, yeah.
Good money after bad being thrown constantly. MCD, though, is able to at least use that opening to get rid of Cronus, which at least means Cronus isn't building an orbit array in this fight. Question mark, upward inflection indicating quizzicality. Bliss is removed, though. And yeah, Vendetta will be back into it. But 88 meters already gained for Twisted Minds. Honestly, that's pretty cheap real estate. Doesn't feel like they had to work too hard for it here.
No, not at all. And I mean, they're getting this, you know, progress really without Quartz, right? He ends up dying in a lot of the fights. They end up moving the bot forward. So they end up taking a fight now here towards mid-map as Vendetta and Aspire, they got to win 2-3 fights in a row.
All right, it's the barrage. The Labs are waiting for them to walk into that one. Will be interrupted and eventually brought down by the Juno. China doesn't really seem to have a whole lot of targets to make work with that blade. TVNT a little bit low here, but fortified up. China, yeah, going to be absolutely, well, stopped.
Yeah, I mean, China doesn't want to. He doesn't want to push in because he's lost his Brig, who was rallying, and then they, you know, they have the Pharah directly above, right, and the Brig up for Twisted Minds. Bliss is using the rally as well, right? So you're in a really difficult spot. I mean, there's no way you can kind of push on into that, even with Blade.
Little by little, Twisted Minds getting close to triple digits of bot progress here. This time, they're not going to overextend with Quartz. Still playing with 5 and back onto this corner, which is, again, right where they want to be.
Yeah, Dynamite landed there on the hybrid. So trying to put some heal pressure on down. It'll be Orbital Ray here. TVNT and Co. They're just trying to get out.
Yeah, don't want to fight this. It's such an easy disengage angle here for Twisted Minds to just take a fight at the top of the street here. So that Orbital Ray here, unfortunately, doesn't give Vendetta a real advantage. So that's to maybe get the bot back to parity.
I mean, but to use Orbital Ray to get the bot back towards mid-map, I mean, that feels terrible. So you're going to be able to get at least one kill here. You're going to be able to take out the Brig. It's going to be the Bob with a double kill, though.
Yeah. All right, still, TVNT going to be pushed off the map with their Javelin spin, but even in like a technically
bots are running away,
losing fight, the bot's just being ran away, and it might even actually get them more progress if they were audacious enough, but Twisted Minds are happy enough with the front spawn re-established. Labda says, that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, Hybrid picking up these kills, though. I mean, now he falls, and in what? You're going to get back towards mid-map, have another fight. I mean, that's literally what's going to happen. And you may not even get this fight because Twisted Minds, knowing that your tank's dead, going to push up a little bit. You can be aggressive here. Maybe they end up with a kill, or they just push them back, which is what happens. They just push them back a little bit. Now you're going to have Orbital Ray here for the next fight, as Vendetta cannot get anything going.
Yeah, they don't really have anything huge ult-wise to get them started here either. Maybe they can hope for it dead-eyeing into an Orbital Ray and getting an unexpected kill. But it's been very easy for Twisted Minds to disengage from power ultimates in this part of the map. Here's a Ray. Twisted Minds run it straight up mid. This time they're going to get over to that 100 meters plus after this. Quite a clean fight, all things considered. Nice little 3-piece by Labda.
Yeah, no way for Vendetta to disengage in that fight. So more progress here towards Twisted Minds. They march towards the Vendetta spawn. not a ton to work with here. I mean, yeah, you're probably going to build up towards a rally. You're going to wait for Quartz to get back, so he might end up with a bob, but I don't think enough to kind of break through the spawn hold.
No, Twisted Minds don't also want to play there. They just want to play on this exact corner. Because it's just impossible to do anything about Labda. If you swing wide as Cassidy, you die to Ash, or you get javelined into a wall and killed by any amount of damage from anyone. So Cookie has to ignore that opportunity for now. So annoying to play against this Farrakhan like this. See, Labda, okay, peek out, take some shots, come back around the corner. Big poke damage, China down to like 25 health. And just rinse and repeat.
And if you're forced to use ultimates to get out of this position, well, you're screwed because the next fight's mid-map.
Oh, that's a blade into a brick stun. Unlucky for China. Bliss able to shut him down this time. This is going to be a bob coming out from Twisted Minds, and they've got on the high ground behind them. Good reaction from Vendetta to try and get around this corner, but TVNT is still here. They can't steal the bot away.
This is bad for Vendetta. Vendetta's really split. Twisted Minds has the bot going deeper into their territory. I mean, that is a bad fight there for Vendetta, because now you hold on to your rally, but the Warbell Ray is just going to end up taking this for Twisted Minds. Cookie over to the Widow yet again, just trying to find some type of picks here from the spawn. But this is desperation.
Rally, Terror Surge. The ladder being used immediately here by Hybrid. Cookie on the Widow. Labda here trying to push into it. That's a beautiful headshot. Cookie able to do with both DPS from Twisted Minds. But 2 minutes left in the round, and 131-0 is the score. Vendetta have how do I put this nicely? We've got a whole lot of work to do.
So you're saying there's a chance?
I am indeed.
What would have to happen?
You need to win 3 fights in a row, starting from the central point of the map. You need to go 1-for-1 against this barrage first. That is the bare minimum.
Yeah. You need a fight win here, right? Because it's the hardest part on push, man. This bot ends up back in the middle. You need to invest to use these, win these fights, but then these fights ultimately don't really get you anything, right? So how do you win these fights without investing heavily? MCD, some type of cheat code there, ends up living forever.
Is that plot armor or just the suffering, just the howls of Orisa players around the world? Oh, buddy. Okay, so
that's why Johnny plays Reinhardt, so he just has no chance of killing
You win the
them.
fight, but you suffer a moral defeat. See what that does for morale.
You are reliant on this Widow getting picks. I mean, that's the scary part, right? I mean, Cookie's been pretty good throughout the series, but see, we're going on a flank here.
It's like, yes. It's like consulting the Pokemon map to try and find that last shiny. Where does Labda hang out? By a corner? Okay, I'll head right over there. Nice little China blade there. Cronus also going to work. 30 seconds.
Getting closer to checkpoint. Closer to checkpoint, though. But Twisted Minds, you're going to hold on to everything here for just one big fight, right? A lot of players up on the high ground here for Vendetta. Quartz is taking the bait. He's taking the Widow bait here.
Oh no. This is nice. I rarely see this not work. I'm not casting cursing. I'm not doing it.
They're not there.
They're spotted out. Yeah, TNT sort of sees them from that low ground. Still, they can drop down on the Orisa. It's still a good position to play from. Cronus is safe from hit scan on this corner for now. I like it. Bliss might have to rally here. Oh, he took the bait, but it doesn't matter. Quartz is going to win it out. Yeah, here's a rally. W-Unge! Oh, he needed that ultimate so badly. But again, not much you can do about the Widow one-shots. These things just happen. Cookie, nicely done. Apple, happy to stand up against Quartz by the looks of things, but that barrage should really seal the deal. And should close out the map and series. Vendetta get a little bit closer than we thought, being able to take Midtown away, but Runasapi just ends up falling to pieces. Twisted Minds live to fight another day here in Stage 4 main event.
Really 9 minutes of dominance there on Runasapi. I mean, just dominance there for most of the game from Twisted Minds. Vendetta makes it a little bit interesting towards the end, but this is a series that could have even ended on Midtown, right? I think just they kind of blew the end of Midtown Twisted Minds. And look, I think obviously the book is out on them. They want to play lots of Pharah and some hit scans. So it'll be curious how other teams adjust to them as the tournament goes on.
That hit scan play from Cookie definitely a big part of what gives Vendetta that crucial map win on Midtown and gives them a lifeline, a chance in that series.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, just the fundamentals on Runasapi don't quite seem to be there. And Twisted Minds, with their signature style, are able to prevail. They'll stay alive here. Good to see Twisted Minds back in a main event. Now let's head over to our desk here and break the match down. A 3-1 to Twisted Minds.
Thank you both so very much. Yeah, we did get to see some signs of life from Vendetta, but unfortunately they could not take down Twisted Minds, who just rolled up in their comfort zone and weren't really contested for most of the series.
Yeah, I think there are like 3 fights there on Push, really, that really just like distills the action. The first one is you roll out with Cookie playing the Widowmaker, and before you're really even able to take like a good angles on that Widowmaker, which is already hard on Runasapi, Anj goes down to the poke. Then afterwards you swap over to the Cassidy, you try to force some action, you blade in, but Twisted Minds, they just disengage because you don't really have any angles. You're not really flanking, and so they can just easily disengage.
Speaking of
and the
angles,
third one was, Cookie swapped over to the Widowmaker towards the end of Runasapi again. Took a wide angle flank, which forced Labda's movement, and then you were able to engage with your Risa and the Genji when you had distracted the Pharah and pulled that member away. But it just wasn't enough. Like, it wasn't enough when it came to sufficient angles. And
it was that Widow play was what gave them the edge, that one map they
on
won.
Midtown as well,
exactly,
yeah.
You can't really blame them for making those swaps, though.
No, I like the Widowmaker. It's hard on Runasapi. It's extremely hard on Runasapi, but, it worked for like a fight. They won a fight there towards the end.
Yeah, well, it turns out...
They just came out so strong in this series, right? Like, Lijiang was a great map for them. Hero Throne of Anubis was great. And even Midtown, arguably, I think Matt's right. Like, I mean, maybe the Tracer makes sense. I don't hate the pick, but honestly, if you just stayed Widow, like, would you have found one pick that leads to a winning fight here? This could have been a 3-0. I mean, Quartz put up some big kills, but Cookie fired really well. Like, coming into this, your back's against the wall, you're facing elimination here, and to still be, like, hitting these clutch shots on Widow, I mean, you got to put some respect in the name for Cookie here. He had a great performance there. But I agree with you, Johnny. Runasapi was just, this was Twisted Minds closing out the series with gusto. Yeah, that pick on the Anj at the very end was painful. And I mean, even fights like, some of these fights like started with a pick going, I think this is the fight where actually started with a pick going the way of Vendetta, but they turned it around for Twisted Minds and, just still get more progress. And they just got the bot so deep into enemy territory. When it comes to the final push and you have like 4 or 5 chances to win, there's just so many opportunities for somebody like Quartz to find a pick. Eventually, Anj dies with rally. That's a pretty tragic way to go, but probably was Twisted Minds' game to lose there.
It was indeed. Now, Quartz, of course, earning themselves the player of the match honors with the performance, not necessarily on the Tracer, but for sure on that Widowmaker, on that Ashe. I mean, this person just knows how to click hits.
This fight in particular, just roll out Lijiang Tower, 20 seconds until the point unlocks, and you've already won the fight. Because you just grappled forward and got 2 picks and wrap it up. It was pretty dominant. Here on the point E as well, find the pick early, Labda did on hybrid, and then you just mow them over. You have ultimate bank. It's crazy.
It's such a confidence boost for a team when you have a super elite hit scan who's just kind of taking over the server. Everybody else in the lobby just knows, like, all we gotta do is just like play normal and like don't feed, and like Widow's gonna win these duels. Quartz is gonna come out on top over almost anybody in the region, frankly. And so I think that really does give Twisted Minds a great base to build on, right? Like, you just have to have some stability, have some decent team fights, and you can expect consistent picks, consistent production from him.